Now, first of all, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the tiger in the room. I'm wearing my same sweater as yesterday. This one's got a little tiger right here on it. It's my son's favorite. He wants to be a tiger when he grows up, but he was really excited because I lost it and then we found it. And so now I feel like it might be my good luck sweater. Wore it yesterday, was up 100,000 bucks. Wore it today, up $35,000 on a breaking news trade. Stock squeezes up 250%. Boom. That was my biggest trade of the day. Let's jump onto the charts and break it down. Okay, the market is hot right now. 2 back-to-back days. 100 yesterday, 35 today. That's awesome. So first of all, we've got a lot to cover because today was really insane. We had some really weird price action, and I have some of it recorded. So I'll show you the archive recording of the level 2 on NIXX. Very bizarre stuff. And I have some theories about what was going on there. High level, big picture, looking at year to date, $959,000 as of yesterday. After today, I'm going to be at about $995,000. So coming up real close to the $1 million mark in gross profit for the year. Crossing that in gross is great. Crossing it in net of fees and commissions will be even better. Now, someone did ask me yesterday, Ross, how much are you going to have to pay in taxes on the $100,000 you made yesterday? 0. I'll pay 0 in taxes because I am trading right now in a retirement account. This is a retirement account. It's a Roth IRA. Now, I set up a traditional IRA. I converted it to a Roth, and I've been trading in it ever since. So this, to me, is like a no-brainer because there's not many ways that you can make this amount of money completely tax-free. Now, the one catch is that I can't spend it right now. But to me, that's all right. I don't mind putting it away for later. So that's kind of my attitude. I think every trader should have 2 accounts. One that's the account for spending money, and then one that's the account for saving. Spending and saving. Use the retirement for saving. Now, before we get into today's recap, I'll show you my P&L so you can see big picture. Sitting at $35,533.59. Gave back $2,000 off the top. Hit a peak of about 37,000. So that was my peak today. Gave back a little off the top, but not too bad. And PIXY was the biggest winner. ZVSA, small winner. First trade of the day was STAF. Went from green 2,000 on it to red 1,300. And then I'm red on NIX. This is the one that had some really weird stuff on the level 2. As a reminder, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to teach my Intro to Day Trading course live. So anyone that attends, you can come with questions and we'll do Q&A at the end of the class. That's going to be tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. There's a link pinned to the top of the comments and in the description where you can register. The first 1,000 people that join that live stream, the live broadcast, will have typing, well, I guess it's like typing permissions. Anyone who joins beyond 1,000 isn't able to type. So that's the only thing. So make sure you show up probably like 12:45. So you're in the queue, so you'll be one of the first 1,000 people to join. And I'm sure we're gonna have a great turnout because a lot of people are interested in learning more about my strategy, a little bit of the history of how I came to develop this strategy, exactly the do's and don'ts of how I find stocks to trade, where I get in, where I get out, how I manage my risk, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's coming tomorrow at 1 p.m. Now, first trade of the day today, 7 a.m. All right, so this morning was kind of interesting. I sat down and, initially I was sort of like, we had some moves after hours yesterday, and I actually took 2 trades after hours yesterday, and I lost 1,400 bucks. I had just finished my recaps for the big green day, and then I saw a couple stocks with news. So I was like, okay, but we got these pops and then reversals. So anyways, I finished yesterday at 90. It was 97,000 or something like that. Anyways, still a really good day. So because I saw those pops and reversals, I was a little nervous, wasn't sure what was going to work. I sat down this morning, pulled up the scanner on my phone, and noticed we already had several stocks that were up a lot. NIXX, this one was up like 300%. It squeezed from under 4 all the way up to 10. So right around 7 a.m., this was up a lot. STAF was up a lot, STAF, and this ended up being the first one that I traded. So coming into the open, I pulled up the charts on STAF, and I was a little confused because I didn't see a clear catalyst. I didn't see a news headline. And I noticed that a lot of the stocks that had popped up and reversed didn't have news. So I thought, all right, so be extra careful, excuse me, to look for stocks and things that have news. So STAF ends up popping up, and right at 7 a.m. we got this nice squeeze. So this was right here. It starts to squeeze up right here, and I jumped in STAF first trade at $5.61. It goes up to $5.68. It goes up to $5.94, and I take profit at just under $6. So I made about $2,000 on that first trade. Not bad. I thought that was pretty good. But then I did get back in it, and let's see, where did I get back in? So I got back in. I don't remember where this was. Where did I take my second loss on it? It was at 7 a.m. So I got back in this. Oh, okay. So actually my first trade was right in here as it was squeezing up. And my second trade was adding for the break of 6 and getting stopped out as it dropped back down. So that was a little annoying. And then at the open, I took another trade on STAF and lost $2,500 on it. So that was this little jackknife right here. So I was watching this. I recognized that it had 3 topping tails, but it seemed strong. Kind of reminded me of VS from yesterday, which I made like $10,000 on. And I thought if this breaks through 550, then we're looking at a move up to 6. If we break 6, we're looking at a move up to 7. And that's kind of what I was thinking. So anyways, I bought right here for the break of 550, 5,000 shares, and it drops. Stopped out for a $2,500 loss and flipped from green on it to red. So red, $1,300. Now it did end up rallying back up, but I didn't get back in. I was like, you know what? Let's just say enough's enough. This stock is too choppy. I'm going to leave it alone. So that was the right move because it ended up rejecting a second time. So anyways, I actually started the day with STAF and ended the day with STAF, but that didn't really contribute much in the way of profit or losses. You could see $1,300, whatever. So then the next stock I traded was NIXX. So NIXX, this one was really interesting to me. I saw the chart when I sat down at 7 and I was like, okay, this is looking interesting. And my first trade on it, I bought it at $8.08. That was right around here. And the reason I bought it here was because there was a big buyer on the bid. Now, let me just confirm. It was actually right here. There was a big buyer on the bid, 40,000 shares sitting on the bid. And I was like, all right, boom, I'm in. So I punched the order for 2,500 shares 3 times. I'm in 7,500 shares. Now, mind you, I was already up $1,000 on STAF. So I was like, I've got the cushion, a little bit of a cushion, so I can take a little risk. So I'm in 7,500 shares, and I could tell immediately that I bought from a hidden seller. The way I could tell that was as I looked at the level 2, and it's kind of hard to give you a good example of it, but let's just say I'll just pull up I'll pull up this stock here. So let's just say, for instance, on this stock, and I'm going to switch to my my margin account just so I don't mess up my metrics here. So let's say on this stock, I'm doing 10,000 share orders. So I'm going to click it 3 times. Oops, I got to move the order up. All right, so I'm going to click this 3 times. So let's say that was 30,000 shares. Now, there's not 30,000 shares for sale here. So my assumption would be that if I clicked 30,000 shares, I would see, of course, the orders would be green going through the tape, and the price would probably go from 44 to 47 to 50, 55, because there would be slippage. So if I filled the full 40, 30,000 shares, whatever it is, with 0 slippage, and I'm only showing 300 shares for sale, that tells me that that is an iceberg and there's a whole lot more orders behind it. So usually that makes me nervous and makes me want to get right out of the trade because I'm thinking there's a hidden seller here. This isn't safe. I got to get out of it, right? So that's exactly what happened on NIXX. I got in and immediately realized I had bought from a hidden seller. Don't know how big they are. Maybe it's just 8,000 shares and I was close to buying them up. Maybe it's 50,000 shares and I'm not even close. I don't know, but what I did know was clearly I bought from a hidden seller. So I turned around and hit the bid at the 40,000 share bid. And on 7,000 shares, I lost $70. So 7,500 shares. So it was actually, it was good. It was a I think that was sort of like the best thing that I could have done, was just immediately bail out. It's pretty much the breakout or bailout philosophy that if I get in something and it doesn't work right away, just jump the heck right out. Just give up on that one. So I'm pretty quick to give up, and that's what I did. Now, a little bit later in the morning, let's look at this. So very unusual level 2 pattern. What's going on here? On NIXX. There it is. So I'm going to play this for you. So this is the level 2 here. So do you see how we've got on the bid these big buyers? So on the bid, you're going to notice down here, 40,000 share buyer right there. Well, let me see if I can make this full screen. So 30,000 shares right there, 10,000. But see, it's 20,000. And then all of a sudden it's back to 30. So like you've got this big buyer, and this is the illusion that there's support. So you keep looking at this and you're like, well, this is weird, but look at the ask. So when people buy, the ask doesn't really move up, not that much. And what that tells you is that even though there's only 2,000 shares for sale, you'll see much bigger orders go through on the tape, but the ask doesn't move up. So there's this kind of interesting paradox here where you've got a big buyer holding it up. But every time people buy on the offer, there's someone that is selling shares. So, but what's even stranger is it's not a spoof. See how that stock dropped down there? So it drops down, the bids kind of get sold into, and then they come right back, 40,000 share buyer. So now the buyer's back. The thing that's so confusing is that when the stock is at that level, people are selling to that buyer. So that person is actually buying shares. But on the other hand, what it kind of felt like to me was the buyer is visible, but the seller is hidden. So you were seeing huge buyers, but the seller is keeping it a secret. And this has 27 million shares of volume at that time. Now it's even higher. So I sort of noticed this pattern. I was like, there's something about this that's not quite right. This is really weird. And I felt like, I really haven't seen something quite this unusual. And so for that reason, I said I shouldn't trade it because I'm not going to feel like I can have an edge on this stock when I don't understand what's happening. This is just very bizarre. So we'll fast forward a little bit because what kept happening was we would have the buyer was just sort of sitting there, and we come up to this level, which typically I would be buying this for the break through the new high. And so when people were going short and then covering, look at it, 32. There's all this buying, 32 is not breaking. All of that buying and 32 is not breaking, there's a hidden seller at 32. That's a hidden seller. Now, finally it breaks. It goes to 53, right? So is it going to pull away here? Typically, we would expect it to pull away. Now there's a buyer at like 38. Now it goes to 65 to 70. It starts to pull away. But once again, sellers come back in, and the buyers on the bid are flashing these orders right there. Now it's at 1150. But it just got sold and then reloaded. So that's the weird thing. Someone just bought 30,000 shares of this at 1150. Now, if it was short covering, you wouldn't expect equal amounts of selling on the ask. If it was short covering that many hundreds of thousands of shares at this point, this thing would be up a whole lot more than it was. It doesn't make sense it was short covering and then look at this dump. And this is what kept happening. All of a sudden you get this huge dump in an instant. This happened several times today. So I just said, clearly this is not a trustworthy stock. There is something weird going on. I don't know what it is, but I can't trade it. I got to just leave this thing alone completely. So after that first trade where I broke the ice and then immediately recognized there was a bizarre hidden seller, which a hidden seller by itself isn't so bizarre. It's just weird that there's a 40,000 share bid and then there's a hidden seller. And so I don't know what was going on with this stock. I really don't. But because I couldn't understand it, I decided to leave it alone. So I got that one trade on it, and then that was it. So where it looks right now is, so that ended up dropping on that candle right there, which you saw. It popped up for a second, went lower, but it had this drop here, and this one here, and this one here, and then a jackknife here. So it was just really bizarre. I don't know if anyone has thoughts on what was going on there, but that was very unusual, especially for a stock with only a 3.31 million share float. It almost seemed improbable, like the amount of sellers there were. Now, if I pull up Bookmap for a second, which you can get if you use Thinkorswim, let's see, NIXX. What I want you to look at is in this area here. The one thing is it doesn't let you scroll, but do you see these big buyers right here? So these are the big buy orders, and they're basically just pushing the stock higher. But there's actual large buy orders that are going through. So in total, it feels like there's a lot more buying than selling. I mean, look at all of those big green bubbles. Those are all large buy orders. Volume, 139,000 shares, 219,000 shares. So I really am quite perplexed about it. But those big buy orders are sort of propping it up and then propping it back up and then propping it up. And if we kind of zoom in here, which is a little bit hard to do, just because it doesn't let me, these were sort of those big buy orders here that were propping it up. Big buy orders here propping it up. So it just, I don't know, guys. This was some weird stuff. It's just pretty bizarre. And then look, all of those orders. See, this is the thing that's really interesting. All of these orders here were canceled at the exact same time, and then there were no orders, and then they came back, and then they were canceled at the same time. So that's also why I'm quite certain this is, one institution or algorithm or, trader who was placing and canceling these orders. But being able to cancel simultaneously, I mean, it's a little complex, and those orders were moving around pretty quickly. So, if you look at the book right now, let's see. You can see there's a 90,000 share buyer down there, 90 down there. So that showed for a second. So you've got that buyer down there. Small sellers here. These orders aren't moving around a ton right now. They're just kind of sitting here. Sometimes when you pull up Bookmap on a stock like the IWM, for instance, you'll see a lot of flickering as orders are being placed, canceled in real time. So these are all of the historical orders that were placed on the level 2, and then this is showing this area would be orders that are getting placed, but these are all staying here. But what you'll notice is they kind of flicker on and off. So like an order pops up there and then goes away, pops up. The orders kind of come on the book and then they leave. This is sort of a weird way to look at the market. Most people probably don't use it. And I really don't use this I don't use this in place of level 2 or in place of charts by any means. I just use it sort of as a supplemental tool. And it can be helpful to help describe what's happening in the market during these kind of weird moves. But anyways, this is the chart of high frequency trading algorithms, basically. It's a visual representation of those algos, which is kind of interesting. So something was going on really weird with NIXX. Okay, so then we had ZVSA. ZVSA hit the scanners, and immediately I'm like, familiar with the stock, I know it. So I jumped in it, but I only did a small starter. So on this one, this hit our scanner at about, was it 7:30? Let's see, what time was this? It was 7:50. News came out 7:50, which is a weird time for news. So I was a little bit caught off guard on it. But on this one, I jumped in. Let's see. Let me look back at my orders. So look at 7:50. Okay, so on this one, it hits my scanner, and I used my hotkey to enter. I didn't even have time to type in an order in the order entry window. So I just started by buying 1,000 shares, and I got filled at 312 on this dip right here. I then added at 325 and I got filled 900 shares, and then I added at 337, but I filled only 82 shares. So I was getting only partial fills. It breaks through 350 and I'm adding at 364 and 375 and 4 because now I'm like, okay, we've got some momentum, right? We're squeezing and pulling away. We broke through 4 and up around 440, 435. There was a large seller on the level 2. It was more than 10,000 shares. So I thought, that's kind of a big seller. So I ended up taking profit at about $4, 405 maybe. So I took some profit on it. And on a total of 2,300 shares, I ended up making about 2,500 bucks, which is pretty good. Or maybe actually I had a little bit more than that. But I see an order here for 2,300 shares. So anyways, so took some profit on that, made $2,500. I thought that was pretty decent, but then it dropped back down. So now I'm kind of watching it here and I'm like, I don't know, guys, this doesn't look so good. You know, it's coming back down. And this did have a headline. Now, the headline was a letter from the CEO, so issues letter to shareholders, but of course, that's what worked well yesterday and some other days, so I still kind of thought that was okay. But after that rejection, I was like, you know what? All right, even with news, I better be careful. You know, I'm probably going to have to wait for the first like established pullback before jumping in because I don't want to get wrecked. You know, so at that point, I was only up, let's see, well, I was up 2,500 on ZVSA. I was still green 1,000 on STAF at that point. So I was up about 3,500 on the day. And, you know, I mean, look, that's not bad. I mean, it's not a bad day, but compared to yesterday, it's nothing crazy. So then all of a sudden, PIXY starts hitting the scanners. Ding, 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 ding. It's hitting my scanners as it squeezes up right here. And I see it hitting 6, 657, 758, 859. And I'm like, holy smokes. What is going on here? 8 a.m., they announce acquisition of TurboScale. I don't know, you know, this is the headline. So I'm like, okay, boom, that's the headline. And immediately I'm pulling up the chart, I'm pulling up the level 2, and I'm trying to ask myself, did I miss it or can I jump in? Did I, you know, am I going to be able to manage my risk on this? So on this one, it squeezes right here from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, which was really quick. That was a fast move. Then it dips down right here, and I bought this dip at, let's see, I got filled. What was the low of this candle? Let's see, the low of that candle was 11.33. So I had, my first trade was actually the break of 11. It was right here. That was my first trade. Bought 1,500 shares at 1081, added at 1083, and then added as we broke through 11. We go up to 12, we go up to 13, we go up to $14 a share. So boom. I mean, that's kind of wild. $3 a share in 10 seconds. It goes from 11 to 14. It dips down. I'm buying the dip right here, and it rips up to 15 to 16 and to $17 a share. So basically within 30, 40 seconds or at least a couple minutes, I'm up over $10,000 on the stock. Next thing you know, I'm up 15, I'm up 18, I'm up $19,000. And what I did was I kept buying these dips and then it would bounce up $1 a share. So with 4,000 shares, boom, 4,000 bucks. Another dip, 4,000 bucks. Another dip. So now some of them I lost on, but I had a lot of them that were really good. And I just kept hitting those dips. Then as it breaks through 1520 right here, I add a little high. I kind of chase this move. Jess got a really nice entry down here. That was perfect. And I wish I had gotten it, but anyways, chase this a little bit, made a little bit of money on that. It pulls back. I buy the dip off of the previous support level. It pushes a little higher, ends up grinding here up to a high of 1945. And then it kind of starts to, feel like it's rolling over. And I noticed on the 1 minute, the MACD was starting to curl against the trade. So right here at this point, I was like, all right, MACD is crossing. I'm going to stop for a minute. Let's just hold tight. And I was sitting at about $26,000 of profit. I think I hit like 25 and then I dipped down to 22 and then I was back to 28 and then I was back to 27. So I was like right around that area. And then I took this trade right here for the break of VWAP, getting in as it broke through VWAP right there. And that was a $10,000 winner. And that put me from 27,000 to 37,000 on the day. Now, some traders were asking, Ross, how did you avoid getting caught in that candle? So you could say it was luck. But what happened there was, so I got back in as we broke VWAP right here, which was really clean. That was impressive because we, again, like, go from $16 to $18 a share. It's 2 points instantly. It pulls back here, and I was still holding a small position, and I was looking to add, and I was watching to see it hold 17. And when it broke 17, I was like, I don't know if I like that. And then all of a sudden it rips back up, and I was like, I don't think I want to chase it. So if I had bought the dip down there, then I probably would have actually maybe been in this. But anyways, I didn't because I didn't like that it broke the support level of 17. It flushes down, then it comes up, and then it knifes back down. And after that, I was like, well, I think that might be the end. So I didn't, at that point, I was like, I think that's it, guys. So it ends up coming back down to 13. And then at the open, it halts down twice. It bounces back up here. But for right now, I'm kind of like, I've done well enough. I just don't need to push it. So, and I did give back a little profit at the open on STAF. So yeah, as I sit here right now, $35,000 on the day, and setting myself up here to cross this $1 million milestone for the year, which is a real victory. There's no question about that. I set that as my goal kind of in August, that, at that point I was like, I kind of would like to see if I can break $1 million on the year. I think it could happen if I can average. I think at that point I was at like 700 on the year. So I thought, well, if I can do 100,000 a month, 80,000 a month, it's within reach. And, if we look at my, this is my year to date right now. We look at the calendar overview here. So, I had a great month this is October right now. So I had a great month in July, a really nice month in August. And I kind of thought, if I can just keep even just 100,000 a month, I'll be over $1 million. Now, September came up a little short, right? Not bad, but a little short. And then October was coming up a little bit short. I was kind of like, all right, this is sort of, we're just grinding here. I was only up like $40,000 on the month, which again, I'm not to say that's not nothing, but was up about 30,000 on the month from week 1 and week 2. And then I had 14,000 on Monday and 10,000 on Tuesday. So, that put me up, I guess, about 50,000 on the month. And then all of a sudden, boom, $103,000 yesterday. Holy smokes. And now another 35,000 today. So now I'm sitting at, I'm sitting in a pretty nice spot here, 190,000 on the month of October. And I don't really expect I'm going to break August or July's $230,000 total. But on the other hand, I would only need one more day like today to be darn close. So, and then when we look at the calendar and realize, geez, we still have here for October, a bit like 2 weeks left. I mean, not quite, but we have all of next week. We have tomorrow, Friday, all of next week, and then 4 days the following week. So, we're in pretty good shape here. This spark of momentum, which, kind of, we got a little bit last week from some of the Chinese stocks, and then, that move on drug really sent things pretty crazy. But I will say, yesterday was the peak day. I suppose drug could have been my peak day had I been willing to trade it during regular trading hours, but I don't honestly know if it would have been. I'm not sure. But in any case, drug might have been the best day, and then yesterday might have been a slightly smaller day, but still really good. Today's a slightly smaller day than yesterday. So maybe kind of, things are cooling off a little bit, and then tomorrow's Friday. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what you guys get for afternoon momentum, after hours news, if any. And then I'll just be sitting down tomorrow morning looking at the scans and seeing if there's anything that looks good. So again, we'll remind you guys to join me tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, for my Intro to Day Trading course, which I'll be teaching in a live broadcast. Bring your questions. We'll do Q&A at the end. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. So that's coming up tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. After I finish morning trading, that's when we'll have that class. So I hope to see you guys there. And I'll remind you, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, and there's no guarantee you'll find the same success as me. I've been doing this for a very long time. So please take it slow and always practice in a simulator before you put real money on the line. I'll see you guys back at it first thing tomorrow morning.